Are you there? There we go. Testing. And we'd like to do a quick test. If you can hear us, please do a quick chat and give us a thumbs up or let us know if we're coming in okay for you. Please let us know. Raphael's computer, for some reason, he's got this super duper spectacular computer, and he did a full blown test this morning, and everything was perfect. And for some reason, the computer is not wanting to cooperate, and he's the primary host. So if you can hear me, please leave a chat in the live chat on YouTube. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick, very much. Rick, am I coming in clear as we do a little test? Otherwise, while Raphael works through his part, I will get started. If you can give me a quick, I can. You're coming in loud and clear. MK, I can hear EA, but Raphael is frozen. Yes, thank you, MK. For some reason, Raphael, he did a whole test this morning. Okay, Rick, thank you. I'll get started, and hopefully Raphael will be able to, we'll find out why he's unfrozen. He said he did a full-blown test, which I'm sure he did this morning. Everything worked fine, all the links and sound and video. And just when we were connecting, both getting on a few minutes ago, for some reason, he froze up. He's doing a computer reboot, but I seem to be coming in okay since MK says he can hear me and Richard said he can hear me. So based on that, let's get started. And Raphael will let us know when he can join. So how's that sound for everyone? We'll just get going. What I wanted to cover this morning, actually this afternoon already, it was what we call the 7 biggest mistakes that business owners have. So today's call is going to be a lot to do more with business owners. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you're a freelancer, all these things are going to be able to help you. And one of the first things I want to share with you, which are very important from a business perspective, is most people that when they get asked this question, they inadvertently answer the question incorrectly because they have an incorrect vantage point on what they're doing. As an example, I was talking with one gentleman who has a membership business, and so we were talking about it, and he was referring to a membership business. And there's a lot of memberships out there, that's for sure. And the interesting thing was that I could hear in the conversation that he was a little skewed in the thought process, which is very, very common, by the way. This is not uncommon in any way, because what he really had was a business that has a product that is a membership. He's not in the membership business. See, there's a distinction there. So all businesses will work under same premises. And I can prove that with you. Everyone here, I'm sure, has heard of a guy by the name of Warren Buffett, who's a famous investor, multi-billionaire. And what's interesting is that when Warren Buffett invests in companies, he has a checklist and certain things that he goes through that he looks for with each one of the businesses before he makes a decision on investing in them. What's interesting is that the checklist is the same. The checklist is the same no matter what kind of business or what kind of product they have. Now, why would that be? Why would the checklist be the same? Because you would think there's all different kinds of businesses. Certainly, he should have different checklists for each one of them, like a different checklist for an online coaching business, and a different checklist for an online membership business, and a different one for an online marketing company, and another checklist for a company that sells courses. But no, he has one checklist, and the reason for that is the principles and the premises of businesses are the same no matter what company. So he has the distinction and he has the clarity to know that. With these premises, he looks at all of them the exact same way. There are only 4 ways to grow a business, and all ways of growing a business will always be within one of these 4 categories. And it doesn't matter what kind of product you have. So when I was sharing with this one gentleman, and I began to realize as we were talking that he thought he was in the membership business, and he isn't. He has a business. He's a business owner. One of his products is the membership product. So as a direct result of that, I think we might have Raphael back. Raphael, are you with us? Yes, yes, yes. I see movement. I see movement. Albeit delayed, but movement. All right. So what he didn't realize was that all businesses operate under certain premises. And when we get these principles down, when we understand these principles of all businesses, we don't have to focus on fly-by-night tactics, and we can focus on the actual principles of a business. As an example, I'm going to use a few examples, and there's some people that are in business of helping companies help their personal branding or helping. Now, this is a good thing. You want to have personal branding. That's good. However, I can share with you many businesses who had no branding whatsoever and were highly successful. In fact, you know what their branding was? Many, many product testimonials and customer testimonials. That was their branding. All right. So a branding is a good thing. I'm not against branding. I think personal branding and setting yourself apart is very important. But the point I'm making is that whether you have the branding or not, your business can still totally succeed when you understand you are in business and you have your own business and your own company, and that whatever product you have, whether it's a membership, is a product. So it's not a membership company. See, and I'm trying to drive home the distinction there to let people and for our listeners to have you understand that there is a very succinct difference between thinking you have a membership business and you have a business who has a membership. So in your mind, once you understand that there are many similar mistakes that businesses will make over and over again, no matter what their product is, no matter what their service is, because they always have their own business and their product or service is their product. All right. So let's touch on now and get into the 7 biggest mistakes that I see business owners make. The first biggest mistake is this one's a really, really, really big one. Not clearly identifying what your clients want or need. Now, this is a big challenge because as business owners, one of the things that happens to us is that we fall in love with the products we create or the services that we give. And because we fall in love with them, we think everyone else is going to fall in love. And that as soon as we show it to them, they're going to totally succeed when you understand you are in business and you have your own business and your own company, and that whatever product you have, whether it's a membership, is a product. So it's not a membership company. See, and I'm trying to drive home the distinction there to let people and for our listeners to have you understand that there is a very succinct difference between. I think Raphael just was experimenting with buttons, trying to get going, and I just heard myself repeat myself. So hopefully all of you got that point since you heard it now a second time. One of the challenges that businesses have if they don't utilize the time to find out exactly what their customers want and need, they go through these huge processes of putting together, whether it be courses or services, and they put together this huge offering, and they have no way of knowing who actually owns it. Who actually is going to want that product or services. So one of the things that's very important is we want to be able to clearly identify what our clients want and what our clients need. So if I was to ask you right now and say, if you were a restaurant owner, and what was the one thing you would want as a restaurant owner that would absolutely guarantee your success, what would that be? If you could have one thing that would absolutely guarantee the success of your restaurant, what would that one thing be? There's only one answer to that. There's only one really strong answer that would guarantee your success. Do you know what that answer is? A starving crowd. All right? So when you have a starving crowd, you're going to now have customers automatically. Why? Because you have a crowd that wants your product, right? And how do you determine that? So one of the bigger mistakes is thinking that our customers need something when they themselves do not even realize that they need it. So it's very, very important as a business owner that when you are working with customers, find out in advance what they need. And I'm going to share with you a couple of great questions you can ask them. One of the questions you can ask your customers, and if you haven't asked them, in my world, we call this naive. If you haven't asked them this question, and the question is, what's one of your biggest challenges that I could help you with? Or what is one of the biggest challenges that you need help with? See, now you're starting to identify what their needs are, because you may recognize needs they have, but if they don't recognize them, that's not going to do anything to help your business. You've got to be able to match up with what they themselves recognize or believe that they need, and then offer that, and then you can bring them along on the journey with extra education and products and services. So, great question to help you identify what your clients want and need. What's the biggest challenge you have that I could help you with? Or you could just make it more generic and say, what's the biggest challenge you have? Or you could ask, what's the second biggest challenge you have, as a follow-up question. Or if you needed help with anything else in your business, if you needed help with one thing in your business that was really important for you, what's that one thing you need the most help with? See, now you're really getting to the details of what the service or the product that you can provide for your customers, right? Because we're actually finding that out. Raphael, did you make it? Did you make it to us? Are you with us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear
My
you.
gosh.
I knew you. I knew you'd make it. We're on second. You're on first. You're running right towards us. We're doing good. The good news is we're all in the same game and in the same. We're actually on the same team, and we're all on the bases. So I knew you'd figure it out.
Well, the thing is, I can't throw away my laptop because I need it.
Yeah.
But if I could, I would, because it worked perfectly this morning when I had a podcast, actually. You
Yeah.
know, for everybody listening, EA has done it. He can really teach you how to do it. When you think about EA, he's a gentleman he can teach you how to do things. He knows how to make $1 million. He can take you there. He's been in a room of 50 presidents of companies, and they each paid him $5,000 for that one shot, right? But he's not even going to charge you guys that much, right? He's going to give you a complimentary 45-minute session that you can actually take advantage of. If you want to learn how to grow your business into huge international business, he's done it. He's done it for other businesses as well. If you want to earn $1 million in 1 year, he's done it. He can do it for you. So I just put the link in there. You guys should book a free mentoring session with EA. He's a super, super amazing person. I mean, listen, and every time I talk to him, not only do I get let's say a chest full of gold nuggets, but I laugh all the time. He's just such a warm and heart and giving guy. And that's why he created Givers University. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cut you off, but I just had to give you some props, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I want to let you know we were feeling lonely without you there.
Oh, look at that.
So that's great. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. And
Absolutely.
for those that are listening in, I am making available only during the live event. So a 45-minute free, absolutely free, no cost. I want to let you know genuinely, I've charged $1,500 for this and gotten that many, many, many times to be able to get into the biggest challenge you have in your business and the second biggest challenge. And we're gonna get right on those, right, to solve them, etc. So click on the link below if you'd like to have a free mentoring session with me. It is no cost, no obligation. And all you have to do is click on the link and book your meeting. And it's pretty self-explanatory on how to book it and confirm it. And I would be happy to be able to help you with your business in any way that I possibly can. And we get right to your biggest challenge and second biggest challenge. So the link is right there. And thank you for making that available and posting it for everyone. And by the way, the link's going to be dead as soon as we're done with our live thing here today. So you've got to book it. Don't try to book it later because the link will already be dead at that point. It's alive while we are talking. So and the good news is Raphael's with us now. So he's there with us. That's a good thing.
I just want to let you know, Nicolette told us that she's driving. So Nicolette, drive carefully. I know the fun thing about YouTube and almost anything is that we can actually listen while we drive, and I do that as well. So thank you for joining us, Nicolette.
Yes, thank you so much. Please drive carefully. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to mention that Nicolette she already has she booked her appointment, and we're going to be I think I want to say around the 27th or so, and so I look forward to being able to help her in her business as well. I'm very excited about being able to do that. So thank you, Raphael, for sharing that. And for any of you that have questions, by the way, we're going to have question and answer session. So any of you have questions and you're able to type, put it in the chat, and Raphael and I'll make sure that we hit those questions specifically on anything that we cover topically. So I covered the number one big mistake that business owners make: not clearly identifying what your clients want and need. In other words, guessing. And I can share with you, guessing is very, very expensive. I do my very best not to guess anymore now. I do testing, but I don't guess, because guessing costs a lot of money, and I have spent so many hundreds of thousands of dollars, perhaps even millions of dollars on guessing and not testing. So, second biggest mistake business owners make: not articulating properly the reason why. In other words, as a business owner, when you're sharing with someone, or anyone, by the way, this is even great for Communication 101, to always finish the sentence. My business mentor drilled in me. He said, people speak in half sentences all the time because they never explain why. In other words, I can say, I can teach you this. Right? And that just leaves it hanging, right? I can teach you, and you say whatever it was. Or I can say, I can teach you this because this is how it's going to help you. See, right. There's a big difference in those two things. So you always want to be able to, when you're communicating with people, share with them the reason why. Be willing to say, and by the way, do you know that originally the word because actually originally was by cause? That was originally what the word was. It wasn't because. And it became because over the years. So when you speak with people, when you're communicating with people, when you would like to have them do something, always finish the rest of the sentence and say because, and explain to them why. When I had when I was doing the boot camps for business owners, and this was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3-day event. You had to be a millionaire and a president of a company to be in the room. I had 50 every single month, and they paid $5,000 each for 9 to 9 session Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. session Saturday, and 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. session on Sunday. So it was a 3-day boot camp. 50 presidents of companies, all millionaires. And during that time, I shared with them 410 ways to build their business, how to look at their business differently, because everyone has this one big challenge, and here's what it is. That big challenge is, as our level of expertise goes up, so does our inability to think like a customer. We're simply too smart. All of you listening to me right now that have your own businesses, guess what? You're too smart. You're already there. You're too smart. You can no longer relate to the thoughts of a customer. So one of the things that I did, and I can share, so it's sort of an interesting side story.
Wait, before you do, I got to cut you off.
Okay.
410 ways?
Yes.
That's like mind blowing. Wow. No
410.
wonder you should have charged 30,000. Holy cow. I go to seminars, 3 day seminars, even a week seminars, and I don't get that many golden nuggets. Wow. You really are amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I can share with you as a side note, I actually have on tape a gentleman who said that the training was worth $50 million to him. And less than 3 years later, he took his company public and his part was over $50 million.
Oh my goodness.
And he all he said was, "Where were you 3 years ago? Where were you 4 years ago before we met?" And I said, "Well, I'm here now, and I guess that's really what matters." And I didn't make up any of this, by the way. All this was taught to me. Mentor, mentor, mentor. Have a mentor. And one of the things, to my point, and thank you for that interjection for sure, Raphael. When I had the live radio show, at the end of the show, I gave all of these millionaires a 25-page letter. And everyone that said I was doing it said, these guys aren't going to read this stuff. They're millionaires. They're CEOs. They're presidents of companies. They don't have time to read 25 pages of anything. I said, that you're wrong. I said, you're only saying half the sentence. Here's the whole sentence. No one has time to read 25 pages of something that is not of interest to them.
Right.
But they do have all the time in the world to read 25 pages that's of critical interest to them. Exactly. So it's not that they don't have the time. It's that I, over 25 pages, gave them 25 pages of reasons why they should attend this boot camp for presidents of companies. And that 25 pages is what compelled them to pay $5,000 each, all 50 of them, every single month, a different 50. It was because of the information. In other words, the importance of telling your customers why. This is why I'm providing this service. This is why this will help you. This is the benefit you're going to be receiving. Tell them why.
One of the things that you said is a lot of people didn't think they were going to read those 25 pages. Real go-getters read way more than that in a day. So 25 pages, that's going to help them elevate or make millions. Who wouldn't want to read that? 25 pages, I'm like, okay, first of all, mind blown, because I'm sure there's a lot of information on there. But real entrepreneurs read on a regular basis, because a lot of times, not only do they read, but they journal, right? Because that's an important part. Because I'm sure when your 25 pages, it wasn't just a read, it was call to action. Am I right?
Exactly right. It's so critical. And again, that importance of, the mentoring aspect, if you will, as my business mentor shared with me. And I like to use the flying example of, I was blessed to become a commercial pilot, but what would have happened if the instructor would have just thrown me the keys and said, there's the plane over there, you finished ground school, go fly. Yeah. See, I would have been a lawn dart by the end of the runway, right? And I can share with you, that's what business owners do. Sometimes they'll read a book, and hey, I'm a self-improvement geek, right? But we need to have someone that can show us how to implement these things at the same time. Learn these things, read, be on self-improvement every day with at least a minimum. I do a minimum of 1 hour every day of self-improvement, right? And so, and it's very important to not only have an ongoing self-improvement commitment for yourself, not get too caught up in the busyness of every day, but then also have a mentor that can show you what to do. I can share with you so many experiences, certainly in the flying world, and it relates directly to business, where I'll give you an example. When you go to get what's called an instrument ticket to learn how to fly by instruments when you're in the clouds, one of the first things an instructor will do is you're wearing this hood, and you're not able to see outside the airplane. All you can see is the instruments. You put this hood on, and you're not able to see outside the window. That's the purpose of it's called under the hood, is you're not able to see outside. So I'm on the hood, and then my instructor says, "Okay, I want you to close your eyes and tell me which way you think we're going, because we're in the clouds." So I'm under the hood. I close my eyes. And he says, "Okay, which way do you think you're going?" I said, "To the left." I said, "Do you think we're in a steep, a very small, or a little turn?" I said, "We're slowly turning to the left." He's okay, open your eyes. I looked at the instruments and we were in a very steep turn to the right. The opposite direction and in a steep turn, not a little one. He goes, that's, and the point was, he said, that's why you follow your instruments. Don't listen to what your feelings are. Your instruments do not lie. No matter what they say, watch. So it's part of the instrument training. Now, how would I learn that in a book? Mm-hmm. See? It was the guy next to me that made me see this is how you implement this information. That's why mentoring is so important. Not the learning from a book and just going ahead and trying to do it yourself. I call that the lawn dart syndrome. You get to the end of the runway, you're going to be a lawn dart just because of that. Mm-hmm. Now, do what Raphael mentioned. Raphael is really, really solid when it comes to self-improvement and self-discipline. Out of interest in time, because we got a little bit of a late start, I want to hit on the 7 things that I promised everyone I would cover, even though I only covered a couple of them in detail, because I want everyone to at least be able to know what the 7 mistakes are. And as we have our future events, I can get in more detail on each one of them, which I'm happy to do. So the first biggest mistake business owners make, not clearly identifying what your clients want and need, not what you think they want and need. Big difference between those two. Number 2, not articulating properly the reason why. Because whenever you do something with your customers, explain the reason why. When you make an offer, explain the reason why you're doing that. Let them in on your thought process. Number 3, not delivering on a clearly described result of transformation. That I'll just say in a couple of sentences. Most business owners are so nebulous in general when they get to this part. And because the customers don't know clearly what is the result they're going to get, and clearly what is the transformation they're going to get, the customer doesn't have clarity. So they have less of an opportunity or in their mind to go forward. So number 3, not delivering on a clearly described result or transformation for customers. Number 4, not satisfying the emotional needs. Falling in love with your product instead of your customer. Too many of us, every business owner is going to fall in love with their product or the service. It happens to us all, right? So that's why mentoring is so important. That's why, because we get the other perspective of someone else who can say, hey, can you look at that? Did you look at that? Did you look at that? So you don't have what I love to call the lawn dart syndrome. The end of the runway, you just become a lawn dart because we didn't learn what we need, how to implement these things. Now that we know it, what do you do about it? So
if you don't mind,
please.
Every point you're hitting is dead on. And I like the fact that you talk about we should not allow our emotions get in the way of making our business decision, because it's feelings, right? Our emotions, we get angry, we get heated, we get excited. And those are the things that are going to kind of stop us from our true vision of where we really want to get to. The other thing I want to mention really quick is that whoever's is listening on live with us, please just, say hi every so often, say I'm still alive. And, Nicolette, don't text while you're driving, that. So, but I appreciate you being here. But let us know that you're here. If you hear something, if you hear a comment that EA's making, which is, oh my God, I can't even type fast enough, right? But if you hear something, maybe type it really quick in so we know that it's hitting home. Because everything you're talking about, EA, my gosh. This is why you and I'm so happy we've connected. So I'm sorry I interrupted again.
No problem. And happy to have you do so. So to finish off my points, number 4 was not satisfying the emotional needs. Number 5, not thinking multidimensionally. This is such a biggie. This is probably, you could do all the other of the 7 biggest mistakes. You could do the other 6 mistakes, and if you do this one right, you'll become hyper successful. That's how much credibility and strength I put on thinking multidimensionally. Most business owners, and I would say 98 to 99%, think singly dimensionally, and they don't think in 3 or 4 dimensions. And I can share with you that it's so critical as a business owner to be able to learn how to think multidimensionally and to do something that are called triangulations. And a triangulation is something that I actually go through in a little bit more detail when we have our one-on-one session, if you will. But the triangulation is basically crafting relationships with others who already own your marketplace. I say that again. Crafting relationships with others who already own your marketplace. In other words, if a particular firm has invested millions of dollars, maybe they're a good sized firm and they've bought sporting event tickets, hockey tickets, baseball tickets, took the salesman took key decision makers out to dinner, they took them on trips, all these different things, let's call it schmoozing for sake of our discussion here. Over the course of maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they have schmoozed all of their clients and built up these great relationships with their clients and spent millions of dollars. Simple question. Why do you want to spend those same millions? Why do you want to spend those same 10 years or 15 or 20 years when they've already done it? And you can, by learning how to not only do triangulation, but properly implement it, you can learn how to craft these triangulations so they will walk you in the door to the marketplace they already have and want to do it. And you will inherit that 10, 20, 30 years of schmoozing. You will inherit all the credibility they develop by delivering great product, service, and customer. They will walk you in the door, and you won't have to do cold calls. You're not walking through a gatekeeper. You're not wondering how can I get a member, if you will, or how can I sell a course. None of those things are happening. They're walking you into all those relationships already. And here's the best part. Once you understand not only how to do it, but then how to implement it. By the way, big difference between those two. Once you implement it, you can turn around and do the same thing 20 more times. And now you have all the customers and clients you want. All of them. Every business owner listening to me right now, I can share with you, you have all the customers already. You just haven't learned how to harvest them. They're already there. And they, not only that, they want to be your customers. That's even what's more amazing. So triangulation is the one big golden ribbon. It's the Willy Wonka golden ticket. I mean, it is the ticket you want to, when you understand how triangulation works, but then how to craft it and implement it. It will lead and mean a fortune to you. All right. Number 6, not having a mentor. This is critical. I've already touched on this a little bit. If you don't, you're going to have lawn dart syndrome. You can learn all the stuff from a book, attend a course. When you have someone sitting right next to you, like your co-pilot, that's saying, hey, like I thought my CFI, my flight instructor, for the first 6 months we knew each other, I thought he genuinely thought my name was, where the hell you going? Because that's all he ever said to me. Where the hell you going, right? So, but the fact that he was right next to me was what was so critical. His hands were on the yoke of the plane like mine were. His feet were on the rudders like mine were. See, that's the beautiful part of a mentor. It's the implementation part, not just learning the ground school of, attending a course, now I can go do it. It doesn't work that way. Learn how to implement. 7. So I've covered those items right there, I think, with each one of our listeners. And I hope that was of value. And if you found it of value, remember, only during this time period are we booking the free session. This is a $1,500 value. There's no strings. There's no obligation. It's a genuine, bona fide mentoring session where we're going to get at the biggest challenge you have in your business and the second, and then I'll be able to shed some light on it and help you with your business so that you don't become a lawn dart, which I just shake my head so many times on business when they do. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to share with you today. And, of course, the amazing Raphael. And let me tell you a little bit about Raphael, because if you haven't been watching his YouTube videos, you're going to love it. Because, first of all, let me tell you, I think if you looked up discipline in the dictionary or on Wikipedia, I would suspect his picture is right there. I just got to think so, right? Uh, he teaches martial arts, and if you ever watch some of his workouts that he posts, because usually like every day, it's almost every day, and
Right.
I always give him a like because I mean he's in there cranking, man. God bless him. But you know when you think about the discipline that it takes, there's a certain mindset that you need to have. There's a certain mental toughness, your mental game, if you will. And Raphael has a great mental game. He's got a mental toughness. Not only that, because he teaches martial arts, but he uses what he has learned from martial arts into business and into his relationships and the discipline he has learned. Most people, when they hear the word discipline, they think, oh, you know, discipline. Even as kids, I'm going to discipline you. And you think it's something bad, right? I mean, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get spanked. You know, I did something wrong as a little kid, right?
Oh,
And,
good.
and actually, there are joyous parts to discipline. And Raphael has learned that important critical talent of the joy of being disciplined, but then also to have a disciplined mind, to up your mental game. So I'm going to share. He's trained thousands of people, not only in martial arts, but on mental discipline. And so I'm going to sort of turn our call over to him. He's got some great information to share with you. And I look forward to being able to hear what he can share with us today because I love putting on my learning hat and learning from the great Rafael Gomez. So, Rafael, thank you so much for being with us. And please share with us some spectacular gold nuggets for our live event.
Oh, absolutely. You know, EA, I gotta come back to so many of the nuggets you shared today. For example, communication, relationships. That right there is just golden. Because without a great relationship, you know, you may do business, but building those relationships, it's going to take it so much further. People will do more for you if they like you. They will go the extra mile if they like you. They'll refer people to you if they like you. If it's just a business transaction, unless your business is extraordinary and nobody else has the product you have, then they might not recommend you. If it's the same thing everybody else is doing, they might not recommend you. But if they like you and you communicate with them and there's that genuine feeling of this person has their best interest in me, then they're going to refer people, right? So one of the things that, you know, as a mental game changer, because I'm a martial artist, but I'm really a change artist, right? I will change your perception. I will change your attitude into focusing, into going deeper into everything that you are doing. We have one life to live. Let's have fun. Let's have fun. Yes, we have to be focused on business. We have to don't go into it with emotion. Sometimes we have to do the tough things in life. But the best way to do it is to have a strategy set. So I call it strategy for success. When we have a strategy in mind, it's how are we going to implement this strategy? What's my end result? So when I help people out, my biggest question for them is you've already accomplished your goal. How do you feel? What do you see around you? Who's with you? Who have you crushed along the way? Because then that's not the right strategy, right? We want to have the strategy of who's with you, who did you help along the way? Because we can't do this by ourselves. We either have to have people helping us up, and on the way going up, we have to help other people come with us. So it is a community when we're trying to elevate our business. So, strategy for success. I said set stage deadlines for each part of the task or the goal that you have. And when I say stage deadlines, what I mean by that is, you know, what am I doing today? What am I doing tomorrow? What does my next week look like? What is my calendar looking like? What are my expectations as to the tasks I have to do? So, the other thing that I want to do is I want to run different scenarios. What is my outcome going to look like if this happens, if that happens? So when we set things up, we can't just expect it to run smoothly because look, even today, I couldn't get my sound on and I was on before. I had problems. But guess what? No matter what happens in life, you can't let it put you down. You just got to keep going forward. And EA was such a, you know, a superstar by just saying, yo, I'm just going to take it away. And thank you for doing that, EA. Because that shows leadership. When you can take adversity and move forward no matter what, that's leadership. And, I don't always toot my own horn, but I am that kind of person. And this is why EA and I align with one another, because he's a definitely born leader. Now, don't get me wrong. He wasn't born a leader. He became a leader because of what? Mentoring. And he talked about it, right? He was the son of a milkman. I mean, the funniest story he told me is when he was with his dad and they're in the truck, his dad would leave the truck running. They both jump out. The truck is still going, and they both go deliver milk and then grab the empty containers and jump back on the truck. Can you imagine that nowadays? I think how many accidents would have there been, right? But but it's and I asked him the question, what did you learn from that? Right? And of course he gave me an answer. But everything that happens is it teaches us a lesson. And we can either listen to the lesson or get takeaways from the lesson. Everything we do has a lesson. So we have to run different scenarios as to what our goal is. Is it going to be this way? Run 5 scenarios, 6, 7, 8, whatever. But even write them down. If I do this, this will happen. If I do this, that'll happen. And set a bunch of different scenarios so that now if you know that this thing happened, is how do I fix it? So that's how you strategize for success, because there are going to be bumps along the way. But how do we handle those bumps? That's leadership. That's something we have to do on a regular basis. And then you have to know whatever objections come up is, how do you handle them? What if somebody says, well, that costs too much? How do you handle that? What if somebody says, I have no time? What if somebody says, I have to think about it? These are all objections that I get all the time because I run different programs, I different businesses, right? I have a woodworking company, and if I go and I give somebody an estimate and they say to me, well, it's too much, and then I want to find out why is it too much, and then maybe they don't understand the process that has to go into it, and I'll be happy to share it with them. But we have to understand that these questions are going to come up in business and in life. I mean, look, you ask out a person on a date, there's going to be several scenarios that are going to happen. They'll say yes, they'll say no, they'll just give you a dirty look or something, or they'll say they have to think about it. So run every scenario in your mind, and the best thing for business, don't just have it in your mind. You have to write it down. What are the objections that are going to come up? And then here's the real kicker. If you don't rehearse the possible objections, you won't know how to answer them. Knowing how to answer an objection is key. But don't just have one answer, because guess what? We're all different. We all feel differently. When I'm talking to a client, if they're talking fast, I got to speed it up. If they're talking slow, I got to slow it down. If they have a lot of hand gestures, I might want to repeat. So I'm going to mimic them so they're more comfortable in my presence. Now, I'm not going to do it where I look like an idiot, because that won't be me, right? I still have to be me. But I want to rehearse all my possible objections that are going to come my way. So I have an answer ahead of time. And I can say, oh, absolutely, we've handled that situation before. Let me share with you how we've done it. So these are the important things that we want to do when we're helping someone make a decision, when we're going to make a decision. So here's the other thing. They're going to know if they throw an objection, if you get all bothered by it. And even if it's an objection you've never thought of, it's okay. Just chill out, relax, calm down, relax, think of your breath, right? Take a breath and say, wow, I love that objection. Let me ask you, and then repeat it. So it's clear in your head, and it's clear that they understand, that you understand what is being spoken about. So it's important for us to not only relax, but to kind of give them back the objection. So let me understand, you feel this costs too much. Can I ask you why you feel that? So it's all these different things, that scenarios that we have to play in our head, right? Uh, I don't know if I'm singing to the choir or it's new stuff, but we have to come back to it on a regular basis, because no matter how old you are, look, you could be, 90 years old in the hospital and they want to give you an injection and you go, wait a minute, why? So you still have to ask, right? You have to understand what's going on in your life and in your business. Understanding your business, understanding your personal life, your social life, and your family life is part of success. That's strategizing for success. You have to know those three things: your life, your family, and your business. Without those three, what do you have? Because if
Like,
you have no balance, what do we have?
can
Right?
I interject right there?
Absolutely, please.
I mean, you really bring up a great point, and thank you. That's so important because I find, so many business owners and people, they just get out of balance, and they don't even realize they're out of balance. And for our listeners for this live event, I've just posted in the chat a booking link to book a live session with Raphael, and. I mean, I want to share something with you, by the way, that I think is so important when we have opportunities to learn. There have been times where I've attended trainings where I went into the training thinking, well, you know what? If I just learn one thing I didn't know before, and all the rest of it's a repeat, that one thing is something I didn't know. And who knows how 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that one thing will really come in handy because I learned that one thing that I didn't know before. So, Raphael is offering, as a result of this live session, make sure his booking link, I just put it in the chat. Make sure that you book that because he's going to help you with that mental discipline and mental toughness. If you're having those days where you're just sort of having a tough time getting going, or you feel like the engine's running a little low. Raphael's going to help you with that and how to reframe it in your mind, so that you can have that discipline and with the business owner, discipline is very, very important on a regular basis. I need to digress just for a minute because Rick was kind enough to mention what was number 7. He asked me, so I'm just going to mention it for everyone.
Yes,
He said we had 6, but what was number 7? And I'm glad he's counting. And of course, by the way, Rick, I'm sure would be counting. Number 7's real simple. And it actually dovetails exactly in with what Raphael was saying. Number 7 mistake business owners make: tricking themselves into thinking they were busy today, that they actually accomplished something. I say it again. Tricking themselves into thinking because they were busy today, they actually accomplished something that brought them closer to the goal. Huge mistake. Look at all the things I got done today, and yet it didn't bring them any closer because they don't have a business plan, step by step, day by day, what they need to accomplish. So number 7, Rick, thank you for calling to my attention, is tricking yourself into thinking you were busy today when factually you really didn't accomplish anything, bringing yourself closer to goal. This is something that happens with business owners all the time. So back to you, Raphael. Thank you so much. And sorry for interjecting there, but I want to share with the listeners, being in balance is an important part of mental discipline. And that's something you can really share them with. I know that for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, that is huge. You need that mental discipline, right? Anytime that you're talking to someone else, you also have to realize that they're bringing their own bias into the conversation. They're bringing their own thoughts, ideas. And one of the things that, as a great business person, what we have to really do is listen. We have to listen. We have to listen with our eyes and our ears, because our eyes are going to tell us their body language, and we have to really interact with that. And then we also have to listen with our ears and really internalize the message that they're trying to get. And this is why I always talk about question them and to be clear as to what their message is. What are they really talking about? Because it also shows that you have an interest in what they're saying. You're not just yesing them. Because who likes a conversation like this, right? We're talking, go, yes, yes, Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it. Nobody likes that conversation because it just shows that they're just like they're not really listening to you. They might have their own thoughts. And so a lot of times when we're talking to someone and they say something, we harp on it and we're like, oh yeah, I gotta remember that. And meanwhile, you stop listening. So listening is huge when we think about I want to I want to interpret the whole message, not a portion of the message. And that's what a lot of us do. I've been guilty of doing it. I think we all have. That we only interpret a little bit of the message and we because we harped on it, we didn't get the full message. So one of the things that I like to do with my staff especially is we role play. So we role play a conversation that I may want to have with a potential client. I may role play a conversation that I want to have with an existing client because sometimes I'm going to get feedback because maybe my words were harsh or didn't hit the points I wanted to hit or I missed something entirely. So role playing with a team member, somebody who's on your team. But here's the thing, don't role play with a yes person, right? Because they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. You want to role play with somebody who's going to be super honest with you and they're going to go, I don't like the way you spoke, or I don't like the way that came out, or I like that but don't like this. So in business, we need that sounding board, but we need someone who's going to be honest with us and to the point and as best as we can have them role play the other person, that either the person you're going to be speaking to or the conversations that you may have in front of a whole audience of people. You may be doing public speaking and you want to just kind of shoot these messages before you put them out in public to a few people that may be on your team. And here's the thing, if you have nobody on your team and you're a solopreneur, that's cool. Videotape it. Do your talk, videotape yourself. Everything we do is recorded. If it's not on a camera or a voice recorder, it's recorded. It's recorded by the people we speak to in their mind, and it's also recorded by us. So when we think about everything we say, our intentions, the way we look at things, and once we get them out to the public, and it could be somebody at the grocery store. That's a public. That's the public, right? That's a person. Anytime we speak, we got to think about what our language is. How are we communicating? So I love the fact that EA brought up communication, because to me, I can talk about communication all the time because my body. Look, I'm talking with my hands because I get excited, right? I'm excited about the topic we're talking about. So for me, discipline is that. Discipline is doing things that sometimes we don't want to do. But in the end, they're going to benefit us. Discipline is getting up early. But if you're not an early riser, that's okay. As long as you do what you have to do and stop putting it off till later. So for me, discipline is how you run your life. We have one life. What are you going to do with your life? How are you going to handle it? What do you do when it's not what you expected? What are you going to do when it is what you expected? How are you going to celebrate? And then what do you take from either one? What do you take from your failures and what do you take from your wins? Because I'm not going to call it lose. You're not going to lose anything. You're going to gain. Every time, even if I'm in a race and I'm a running race, I'm going to gain something. Even if I didn't come in first, I'm going to gain the knowledge of maybe I have to move this way or that way. So I'm always winning. I don't have a loser's mentality. I have a winner's mentality. And that's what I want to help you develop, a winning mentality, because no matter what we do in life, and we have one life, right? As far as I know, we have to always think of winning. And it's not putting other people down for us to win. It's bringing people along with us, because I can win, but man, can I win so much more if I bring you with me? Who's with me? You with me? I need everybody with me. Let's do this thing.
Well,
So
and thank you
EA,
for mentioning that. If I can interject there,
yes.
I just put in a chat link the link for someone who may want to book a session with you. I think it'd be a great idea, by the way. And one of the things that I think is important when we have an opportunity to learn is there's a reason the coach is always on the sidelines. The coaches, if you look at a football game, how many times do you see the coach standing next to the quarterback and start whispering to him during the play? Never. First of all, he'll probably get hit by one of those big guys, and that's going to hurt like crazy. But separate from that, the coach's perspective is different. And that's one of the values of having a mentor or a coach. They're on the sideline, and at the same time, they can see both teams. Whereas when you're in the game and you're on the field, you're not able to look between the players and see what else is going on. Meanwhile, the coach is on the sideline, the other coach is on the other sideline, and they can see both teams and what's happening. And because of the headsets and everything they wear today, the coach can be giving play-by-play, moment-by-moment instructions to the quarterback, and as he does the same thing back and forth. So it's the perspective
Yeah.
that's so critical in having any kind of mentor relationship, or even booking a free session like with Raphael on helping your mental game. What if with your session with Raphael, you pick up 2 or 3 or 4 really good points that you think, that's something really worth thinking about. I'm gonna implement that, or I'm gonna add that part into my life. And that's where the perspective is so important. Having other people that can add the perspective to our life. And then that helps us move ahead faster, because one of the things a coach can do, one of the things in a mentor session is it's easier for the coach or mentor to look at your business or what you're offering like a customer than you are. The reason why is because you're too smart, right? We already covered that.
Right.
You know too much about it. But when someone can look at it from the sideline perspective and say, hey, have you thought about that? Have you thought about that? How about this? And then you go, oh, that's a really good point. And there's where the value comes in. Just not the one golden nugget that all of a sudden makes you, $10 million. Not to mention that doesn't happen, because it does. But also the ongoing being able to understand. So book a session with Raphael. I mean, he's going to help you with your mental discipline. He's going to help you grow in your business. And excuse me, you'll see the link right in the chat section there. You can copy and paste it in and be able to book that session with him. And that he wants to contribute. So it's only available during our live session here. We've got a little bit. We're going to do some questions and answers for anyone that may have any. But click on that link and book your session if you haven't already. So thank you for allowing me to interrupt there, Raphael. You raised some great points. And mental discipline, I don't know, something's in my throat there real quick. Pardon me, I must be a little
Get a drink. Go.
See, that was perfect. And what was funny was, because you and I are talking on Zoom, and I'm looking in YouTube, and it shows me having my drink about 4 or 5 seconds later, and I'm thinking, boy, I wonder how that was. Oh, that's how good it was, because I've seen me do it.
I want to know the lotto numbers. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I love the fact of having that beginner's mentality, right? We don't know what we don't know, and we sometimes know too much that we forget where we started. So for me, I'm a black belt that never quit. I'm a black belt who's still here, but I think like a white belt. So I'm a white belt, really, because I love learning. And I want to know what's next. What's the next thing? And so in order for me to teach anyone, especially if they're new, I can't teach them like a black belt. I got to teach them like a white belt. I got to see it from their perspective. I got to take them through the ABCs before I can have them do all the other more technical moves. So I love the fact that you brought that up, is that we know too much, right? Because, like I said, and when I teach my instructors, they're like, oh, it's like this. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not, because you understand it. That doesn't mean they understand it. So it's not dumbing it down. It's remember how you learned it initially and how fast you were able to learn it. One of the things that I've done so differently in the way I teach than the way I learned. Not the way I learned, the way I was taught, I mean, is that I took out all the junk that was put in place, and I skimmed it, and I only put the stuff that really works. And that's why having a great coach makes a difference, because guess what? They've done it over and over and over. I've helped thousands, thousands and thousands of people not only elevate their mental awareness, but their business thinking, but also their physical thinking, because all those things are connected, right? If I don't have my health and I only focus on my business, I'm not going to have my health later on to enjoy the fruits of what my business is going to bring me. I'm going to have to leave it to someone else. You know what? I want to enjoy it too, right? So let's think, for anybody out there, you got to think that in the beginning, you have to take a step at a time. And who better to help you than, look, EA had a pilot who was teaching him how to fly. If the guy said, here's the keys, start it up, and see when you get back, EA would have been back in pieces. That's even if he even was able to take off, because I'm sure that's not easy either, right? EA, I think I need to get my license to become a pilot. What do you think?
Well, I can share with you that any landing you can walk away from is a good one. I can know. See, these are important safety tips right here. But so many extraordinary events, that I can just share just for our listeners for the sake of it. But I remember my instructor. I mean, the one guy I had, which is one of my favorites, Tacky. He was awesome, and he really was the one that knew how. And he said, "This is what he said." He said, "I'm going to show you how to land the plane." He said, and he says, "I'm going to show you all the mistakes that other pilots make. That's why their landings are bumpy, or they sort of, what they call the brick 3 approach, where you get right above the runway and boom, you sort of hit it and it jars everyone." He said, "I'm going to show you how to, every time you come in, you're going to hear the wheels." He used to call it tweet. It would, because they start to spin up as soon as they start to touch the ground, and you're transferring the weight of the plane from the wings onto the wheels. And he said, "You're going to hear," he said, "I'm going to teach you how to spin it, and you're here, tweet, 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 tweet." And he said, "The wheels will start spinning up, and you're just going to come in." And he said, "People are going to look out the window and not even know that you landed." And he said, "It's not, there's a way to do it." And I can share with you, I never would have learned that. Because before I met Tacky, I was already a private pilot. I was already landing planes, flying by myself.
Right.
He helped me get my instrument rating, my multi-complex, and my multi-engine, and my commercial rating. And the techniques he taught, see, there was the part. With him sitting next to me, he said, "Nope, don't do it that way. Don't pull back. Don't pull back yet. Don't pull back yet." I mean, just walking me through literally every single move. And then we would do it again. And then we would do it again. And guess what? I learned how to land the plane just that way, And then later on at the airport, they started calling me by the numbers. They said, "Man, this guy he locks in the numbers and flies his planes by the numbers." And it was all taught to me. I didn't make up any of that. So that's why coaching calls are so important. That's why the information that Raphael and I want to share, mental discipline, and I could almost call it with Raphael, black belt mental discipline, because, that mental discipline goes into all parts of your life. Your discipline on a daily basis. What do you do first thing in the morning? I know first thing in the morning, in many mornings, I can see Raphael's video is going to show up on LinkedIn of him doing, some exercise upside down, flying through the air, and showing also. But he also, what's really nice is what he does? He always says why. He always says, "This is why I'm doing this. This is great for your abs. This is great for this," right? So he's showing, but that mental discipline, see, once we learn the principles, we apply them in all parts of our life. It's the same with business. Once we learn the principles from people who have done it, from people who can sit right along with you and say, "You know what? How do we do that? Oh, okay. I see how that works now. I got it. Mm-hmm. That's why it's really, really important to be able to be with someone who has done it, who has learned. Tacky was a great pilot, a great instructor, and he taught me how to fly. I would. By the way, I was a private pilot, and I didn't know how to land the plane. I knew how to bring it in and walk away, if you want to call that a landing. But
Right.
he taught me how to land it, how to grease the landing, if that makes any sense, and so many skills. And he said, don't use autopilot. He said, don't use autopilot. He says, if you can't trim up the plane, and he showed me. He said, you should be able to fly your plane with one finger.
Mm.
And he showed me over and over again how to trim the plane, the rudders, the ailerons, how to trim the plane. He said, no matter what your wind condition, he says, I'm going to show you how to trim. And he said, so because one day you're not going to have the autopilot. Maybe it goes out and it breaks. You're not going to know how to fly or what to do. He said, better use it as a backup rather than using it as your primary. And he literally taught me how to fly with one finger. I could fly as a very dangerous, very fast aircraft with literally one finger. Why? He taught me. I didn't know how to do this. I was already a pilot. I didn't know any of this stuff, and I was already a pilot, right? He really took me to the next level. I love the guy. I mean, he was just awesome. And that's what happened. So book your schedule with Raphael. It's for you. It's not for him. It's for you. And see what you can learn. Find out. Ask. Come to him with some questions. I see this happening to myself, and I'd like to see. What can I do about this? Or I have someone in my business. They do this. What do you recommend that I might be able to do that can help? So let us be able to help you with solving your challenges as you go forward with your business. And I know Raphael will. That's for sure. So Raphael, you raised up some really interesting points there. And you said that you taught white belts different than like you would teach someone who is an instructor. What would be a difference in example? Could you sort of share with me what would be the difference in way? How would you teach those two differently? Because they have two different levels of learning.
Well, let's think about. For me, there's three ways of learning, right? There's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So when we think about someone, I can be thinking of a person who comes in and has two left hands, two left feet. And no matter how I try to help them, they just don't get it. So it takes us to that point where it's not about me. It's not like, hey, I'm a black belt, do it like me. It's more like, how can I help you understand the movement we're going for? And if they can't see it, if they don't hear it, sometimes I have to take their hands and move them. Sometimes I have to grab their foot and move them for them. So sometimes it's that really deep dive into how can I help you? Because that's truly helping somebody who has no clue as to what's going on. And that's the same thing that we can do with business. Because let's say you have somebody who's just opened up a business and they think they know what to do and no customers are coming. Well, what are we not doing? How we are not approaching people? Are we talking to people nearby? I have an event coming up next Saturday, not this Saturday, following the 23rd. It's based on bully prevention, right? So I have a big event coming up, and also we're doing donations for breast cancer. So I have a good friend of mine, Chris Casamasa. He's coming from California. He's the guy who played Mortal Kombat. He played Scorpion, and he was also a stuntman for Batman. So he's coming up. So how do I make that event successful? He just comes up and people show up. That doesn't happen. So I've been going to a lot of the local businesses and giving them flyers and asking them if they want to do charity work. So I already have a bunch of people who are looking to come in and set up their business here in my location, because I'm allowing them to come into my business. So now I'm making that connection with the community so they can come into my business and sell their products. Not necessarily sell, but contribute to donate. Now they're going to see me as a person in the community who's looking to help people. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm really, really doing it to help people. But there's a benefit because more people will come if other people are here. So when we do a whole community thing, we're bringing the whole community together, and we can do that in all businesses. But it's learning how we have to not be afraid of asking. And that's the biggest thing that people are afraid of, especially in business. People are afraid to ask. What if this happens? What if that's happened? So what? Who cares? Ask. What's the worst thing that can happen? Ask that. That's one of your scenarios we talked about earlier, right? If you don't ask, you don't know. That's it. You have to ask. And
You raise a really good point there. I remember my
yeah,
business mentor, to interject for a second.
yeah,
One of the things that he mentioned was he said, you know, when you ask, he said, what's the worst that can happen? He said the worst that can happen is you ended up right where you were before you asked.
right.
He said that's the worst that can happen. You know, the worst that can happen is you end up right where you were before you asked the question. He said, but you might get a yes. Just to that point, by the way, I'll never forget this. He shared this story with me, and he was going to buy some property, and he put in an offer on it, and I just love the guy, man. What a blessing it was that for me to have him as a mentor.
Mhm.
But he put in this offer, and it was really really low on this piece of property. And so he says, well, he said, would you sell it for this? And the guy goes, and the guy answered him and said, you must think I'm crazy if I would sell it for that. And Sam looked at him with a smile and said, I need to correct you on that for a moment. He said, first of all, you might be crazy if you sell it for that, but I'm not crazy for asking you to sell it for that. And the guy started laughing, and they actually, I mean, because he realized Sam had told him the truth. Sam wasn't crazy for asking him that, and I love the way he said though. You might be crazy if you sell it for that, but I'm not crazy for asking to buy it for that. And the guy actually started laughing because he realized Sam had told him the truth. There's no harm in asking, and you never know what can happen and what great thing can come out of something. Just like Raphael, he was kind enough. He reached out to me after our podcast. He says, "Hey, we're going to do some events here. Would you be interested in participating in some events?" And each event we tweak it a little bit more, and we get it tighter and tighter. And next thing you know, a couple events from now, these events are going to be, eyes closed. They're going to be perfect every single one. But that's a part of the process, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's a good thing. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the power of questions, right? The power of questions.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I the last house I bought, I got $100,000 less than they were asking for. But it wasn't just because I asked. It's because I made a connection with the owner. And that was it. It was communication. That was it. It was that simple. And there were other people bidding on it, but she said, I really like you and I want you to live in my house.
Hmm.
That was it. And it was just because of communicating. And communication can save you money or it can cost you money, right? Communicating, also having the right coach in your corner can either make you money or cost you money. So here's the thing, a lot of people are afraid of, oh, I can't hire a coach, they're too expensive. It may be too expensive if you don't hire a coach, right? Yeah, I'd love to see if anyone here on our live event has any questions for either yourself or myself, or me, I mean. And let's see if anybody does, and we'd love to answer them for you. Thoughts? Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And while we're doing that, by the way, anyone can type those in the chat if you have a question, and I can expand on my number 7 that I was a little lean on that Rick was kind enough to point out for sure.
Well, Richard
Oh,
also
oh,
wants to for you if you can explain number 5. What do you mean
yes.
by multidimensional and triangulation?
This is a biggie. It really is. I can share with you that one of the most important aspects is when thinking about expanding a business. There are, first of all businesses are plus or minus 10% of another business. In other words, everyone always thinks they've got the thing and it's only that, and it really isn't. It's all, every business is 10% plus or minus some other business somewhere. And those businesses that have been in business already have invested a lot in the relationship with their customers. Right? They've been. What are some of the ways that a business would invest with their customers? Well, they can. First of all, they went through the process in the very beginning of maybe having a salesman go in and, which is the hard way of doing a cold call, right? And maybe talking with a gatekeeper, right? Receptionist or someone who's trained basically to not let them through that past that desk, no matter what. So they go through that process. They went through that already. They went through the warm up process. They got to know them, and they found out what they needed, and they delivered the product or service, and then they might have delivered it multiple times. So over the course of this time period, and businesses will have awards for their customers. They'll have special bonuses for their customers. They'll have events for their customers. They'll have, like buy them things such as like, you've been a great customer this year and it's Christmas time and, here's some sporting events tickets or something like that. So through the course of many years, they develop these really strong relationships with customers that they have. Now, those businesses that already have these pre-existing customers have a great relationship with them. Triangulation is leveraging a pre-existing relationship that someone else has. Now, you need to be able to prove to them that you can deliver what you can, because no one wants to, escort someone else in, if you will, and then have them screw it up, right? So you need to be able to edify and show, yeah, I'm as good as I say I am. Let me share with you how, and let them sort of experience that you really are a professional at what you do. So, and it's so extraordinary to me. As an example, I'll give you an example.
Go for it.
I've moved a number of times in my life. And through the course of moving from one house to another, what's funny is when moving, there was always a number of other services I was going to need. Sometimes when people move, they need new carpeting for their new house, don't they? Sometimes they may want to have some home improvement done where they want to have a room built or have a wall brought down and another one put in. So they're going to need a little bit of construction work done. Maybe they want some landscaping done in their yard. Maybe they're going to need some snow removal service. Maybe they're going to need a landscaper service. Maybe they're going to need some painting. See, I can make this long list of all these services that I'm going to need as a direct result of moving. Do you know all the times I've moved in my life, which have been, the average they say now I think is every 5 or 6 years. And I certainly have kept pace with that in most instances. One place I lived in for 14 years, but the rest were all right in that area. All the list of services I just mentioned, do you know at one point or another I needed all of them, and not one single realtor ever recommended any of those services to me by someone else they had vetted? Now think about that. Think of the magnitude of that for a minute. Here's a realtor who knows what I'm doing. I'm moving. They know I'm going to need one or all of those services. And what a great service it would be for me if they already had a list of people who delivered those services, who they knew, liked, trusted, and vetted for me. How much would I appreciate that as a homeowner? Man, that'd be great if they said, here's a list of people who I personally know, who I personally have vetted, who will do a great job because I can hold their feet to the fire. And not only that, because you bought a house from me, they're going to give you an extra 10% off if you just simply say my name when you get an estimate for any of this work. Now, what did they do? They saved me having to go through, back then, a phone book, now the internet. How do I know if they're a good person? How do I know if I'm going to get ripped off? How do I know if they're going to complete the job? Here's my realtor who I'm already giving business to, who I know, like, and trust, who's vetted all these people for me already. And here's the best part. They can very easily get a 5 to 10% commission from every one of those companies that they refer that I do business with. Easily. Every one of those companies would love to have that. They just became a salesman for them. And they're doing a great service for me as the homeowner because I don't have to go out and blindly try to find someone. My realtor's always vetted them for me, and they've given me an extra 10% discount right off the bat that I get off the price that I wouldn't get on my own if I just called them blindly. Mm-hmm. So that's how triangulation works. But how to craft those, and all the homes I've built was, in my opinion, was money that just went through every one of those realtors' hands. Because they didn't know how to triangulate. They didn't know, and think about for a moment my experience. All they were interested in is getting their customer and getting to make sure they could cash that commission check. They didn't think about all the ways they could earn income by helping me in the future, making my life easier by pre-vetting services I was going to need so that I don't feel I'm exposed and going to be out there and being taken advantage of and wondering how do I know, who's going to do the best job. They've already worked a discount for me. They've already pre-vetted them for me. They're going to hold their feet to the fire. Now I got someone else I can call and say, they're screwing up. They're not finishing this. Do me a favor, give them a call. So I got someone else I can put heat on the person if they're not delivering it. And that company, and every one of those companies, that carpeting company, that moving box company, that painting company, that landscaping company, will happily give that realtor a commission, a referral commission, every single time that they get a client. They would love to do it and give me a discount at the same time. Yeah. Yet they don't do it. And it's tens of thousands of dollars to every realtor just going right through their hands. I could show you how triangulation works for every single business. I use a realtor as an example. There is no business I could not show them how to craft a triangulation just like that and show them so many streams of income that will come so unexpectedly because they learned how to triangulate. And that's just one way. There's front-end triangulations, back-end triangulations. There's through the course of a customer relationship while they're becoming a client of yours, triangulations. There's so many permutations that within great tutelage, any business owner could learn so many ways to grow their business and not have to do all the hard ways that they go through and do it. If you want to do a hard way for testing, that's a different thing. Testing, there's great value in testing. Let me see if this works. Let me see if that works. But if you're not at the point where you can test and you need to make money and build your business, triangulation is strong and solid, but it has to be crafted the right way. It's not just a matter of knowing how to do it. You have to craft it in a certain way and then be able to implement it. But I can share with you, I would love to have a list. Wouldn't you? I mean, when you bought your house, Raphael, that you were just telling about, you saved got $100,000 discount on it. Wouldn't you have loved to have that realtor give you a list of these are all the products and services that I find that people need when they move? Right. And I have pre-vetted all of these. And you get an extra discount of 10 or 15% or whatever it is, depending, if you just simply say my name. So I want to let you know, if you have a problem with any of these, give me a call because I'm going to hold their feet to fire for you. Now, if I need anything, I'm going to keep that list. I'm going to tape it inside a cabinet in my kitchen. And if I need any of those services, I'm going to call them. And what happens at Realtor? They're going to get a referral commission. And they've done me a great service in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Here's what I've done in the past.
Yes.
I've gone to realtors and I said, look, you get any new people coming in, they want to take their kids to martial arts lessons. I'll be the place. I'll even print the flyers for you, and I'll give you a commission. You want to know how many took me on that? 0. You know how much money they could have made? A lot. A lot. But why didn't they take me up on it? Because I even said, hey, why don't you do the car wash guy, the mechanic, all these different things? And they're like, yeah, okay. But they're leaving the money not even on the table. It doesn't even get to the table because they're not triangulating, like you say, right? So I totally agree with that. It's such
and to have a customer, and really you're doing them an injustice when someone provides a product or service and doesn't think of what are the other products and services that those people are going to need. Right. And they're actually doing them an injustice because they're saying, okay, why don't you just go out there and throw the dice and hopefully you'll get a good service or not a good service. They could actually be doing them a real benefit. Mm-hmm. Now, the key is, we're talking just about referrals here as an example, right? That's just one part of triangulation. There's other parts of triangulation where they already have the traffic and you get to stand in the middle of that traffic and it all goes through you. And that's where, those are where the critical little tweaks are, the fine little tiny parts. As they say, the distance between a first place and second place horse may only be 1 second, but the difference in earnings are 1,000%. Oh, yeah. That's where implementation and execution comes in. How do you craft it in such a way so that through an endorsement, they walk you in the door? How do you craft an endorsement letter? There's ways of crafting an endorsement letter where they will walk you in the door to all their customers and they will make the introduction. You don't even have to leave it up to them to do it. They will walk you in the door and you automatically walk right in with the customers and say, I'm doing this because I've been vetted by your client. And they say, you may need this service.
Right.
See? And now you've got a huge list of clients you can start from the get-go and going. So that's why I say when there's front-end triangulations, back-end triangulations, while there's static customer triangulations, all those are critical parts. That's why I said with number 5, and thank you for Rick for having us go back to it, that's why that one's the biggie. You can do all the other 6 mistakes, but if you're doing number 5 right, your business will explode and you will have more customers than you know what to do with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. EA, what can I say? You just keep dropping those bombs, buddy. That's because you're in your plane, right? And just dropping bombs left and right, left and right. This has been a great, great conversation. I always love when you and I talk. It's like you're always bringing something. You never come empty-handed. That's for sure. You're a great guest because when you invite somebody to your house, you would hope they bring even a bottle of wine, right? How many people show up to your house, to a barbecue or anything, and they come empty-handed? And then they leave with stuff, right? So think about it. Right now, we're going to ask you to be that guest. We're not asking you to bring anything. We're not asking for anything. We just want to share what knowledge we have. If there's anything that you valued from today's conversation, let us know. If you have any comments, we'd love to hear them. If you have not booked a call with EA, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Let's do it. Here's the thing. We are not asking for anything in return, except the most important thing. Your time. Your time. If you value your time, EA and I will not waste your time. Because that's something we can never get back. So we're not asking for your money. We're doing this from our hearts to help you. If we're able to, give us a chance and we will.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Raphael, and thank you for being such an awesome co-host. And I look forward to our next event. I think we have another event next weekend, and we have a strong end, I should say. I don't like to say weekend because I don't think we should end up weak. I think we should end up strong. So don't we have a special speaker, a special guest next Friday? I think, don't we? Can you say a little bit about that for us, Raphael?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and like all things in life, he's a great speaker. He's a great guy. But either I'm having trouble with my email or he hasn't responded that he confirmed. But he said he was in, so I'm going to leave it as a mystery guest.
Oh, okay, great. Awesome. And there may be some difficulty because I know you and I were having difficulty emailing back and forth, and I was emailing the others. So, and I was getting their email. So there may be some little technical glitch somewhere in some email program. Those things happen every day now. It's
I think the
extraordinary.
Matrix took over me.
Yeah, because I know, right? That's Keanu Reeves, Matrix number 42. You know, the pink and purple dot pill. You know what happens when you take that. So, thank you so much for being such a great co-host. Thank you for all of our guests. We hope that you found the time of value. I hope you can see, we genuinely are committed to helping you with your prosperity and be able to grow your business in multiple ways. If you haven't booked your appointment with Raphael, please do so. Grab a hold of the link while it's still there. It's posted multiple times there in the chat, so make sure you copy and paste that in and take advantage of that. So thank you so much, Radman Show, and all of you. Thank you for being on, and have your absolute best day ever. Thank you, Raphael.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody, enjoy. Have a great day. All right, we ended the stream. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So yeah, we ended the stream. I think that really went well with ending.
Well, we got. I think, unfortunately, I mean, it happened. What happened? I think we lost a lot of people when it didn't start. And that's why it got. It was approaching 10 after,
Right.
and I know with me, if I'm at an event and it's 10 minutes after, I'm out of there. So I just sort of went with it. Just figure we could, continue our experiment and fine tuning it.
I
Um,
think next
yeah.
time,
Who
I'm
knows what in the world that was? What I mean.
I don't know. I'm gonna go in next time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go 20 minutes in early and set it all up. Just
Maybe that's what. Is there a way where you and I can be on for 5 minutes
before.
before
Yeah,
the time it starts?
I think so.
All right, so that way when they come in, we can welcome them
Hmm.
and we know it's working.
Yeah, yeah.
And rather than so that way we're not we don't get surprised by the inevitable technical challenges. And you got Windows 11 starting today. We got all these people doing things, so everyone's just sort of all over the place. And obviously there's an email glitch somewhere. It's weird how it worked with one email and not with the other.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on my end or maybe your end is not shooting the email to me. I don't know if I'm because I got the other one
Yeah,
that you sent to my other that's my business email and I had it forwarded to my Gmail. But
yeah,
when you send it directly to my Gmail, I got nothing. But I got one that yesterday morning,
yeah,
your newsletter email. I got that.
yeah.
I'm also thinking it might have been Streak, so I got rid of it.
Oh,
I
okay.
got rid of Streak. I downloaded it
Yeah, maybe it
and
is.
I put you in it.
Okay.
I put Heroes Rising and I put you in it.
Yeah.
And that's the last email I got from you. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it.
Maybe there was some setting or something in there. So yeah, I mean, maybe that was the answer. Maybe that was it. So
Maybe if when you get a chance, send me another email, but do the Max Fitness also and my coaching call email. See what happens if I get one or not the other, you know. So you can
okay,
send them to both.
all right, we'll do. And yeah, I'll send a. We got one to Gmail, and then I'll do a copy to Max Fitness, and I'm doing testing both emails.
Right.